This was played last week at MGM National Harbor. The game is 2-5, eight-handed, 1K max in the game. This is like a midweek game.
Okay.
So I am covering main villain. Main villain's 1.5K effective. I've got about 1.7K in my stack. But this is a super multi-weight hand. It gets a little. I was just in the blender here, so I'm glad to have you on. I guess pre-flop action. Got a raise from under the gun +1 to 20,
Okay.
which is a standard open for the game. Typical open was anywhere from 15 to 20,
Okay.
which is pretty standard. But then we got a low jack call, cutoff call, and button call. So I'm in the small blind here with queen of clubs, jack of clubs. And, being out of the small blind, it's, obviously a debatable squeeze spot, but I just make the choice to call, given all the action behind me. Call the 20, and big blind completes for 20.
Yeah, I mean, this can be obviously a squeeze spot here, low jack. I mean, it is an early position raise. I obviously a little bit difficult to visualize all the stack sizes, but you are obviously incentivized to squeeze with a lot of dead money out there. I would definitely be, wary or just pay attention to all the stack sizes out there. I mean, I think that you can overcall here in a spot like this. I mean, I would never dream of folding, but that is your first inflection point. Okay, so one, two, three, four, five, 6 ways, like 120.
Yeah, so 120 in the pot. We're going 6 ways.
Yep.
Flop comes out king of clubs, nine of hearts, seven of clubs.
Okay, so you flop a combo draw here, right?
Yeah, big flop, gut shot, and flush draw.
Okay.
So I check. I think this is a great check raise spot, but it checks all the way through 6 ways.
Okay, so it checks through. Okay.
Yeah. Turn is the 10 of hearts.
Wow, so you make the nuts with the flush draw too.
Nuts with the flush draw. Yep. So feel like no way I can check this one. I lead out for 50.
Okay.
And sizing wise, thinking about it in retrospect, probably should be going bigger. Just in this case for 50.
Well, it is.
But
Let me just interject here really quick. It is
please.
interesting then because you definitely want to pay attention to the relative position of everyone. So here the preflop raiser is from +1. So when you check to them, they check and then everyone else checks through. That's different if the preflop raiser was in position and everyone checked to the preflop raiser. You wouldn't really know anything about somebody's hand because they've naturally checked to the preflop raiser. But here, everyone sort of checked behind. You would expect some people to bet off a king, something like that. So obviously a 10 can bring in some two pair and, some straights and 6-8, jack-8, queen, jack. So I can get on board with a little bit of a larger sizing. Backdoor hearts come in too, but I just wanted to note that.
Right. Right. Yeah, definitely a big turn for all those hands you just mentioned. So, yeah, lead out for 50. The big blind right behind me calls, folds to the button,
Yep.
and the button raises to 185.
To 180, so
Um,
raises to 185. Okay. So some people are saying, why not check raise? You could definitely go for a check raise here too. There's just not necessarily a guarantee that someone's going to bet. And what do they have? Like, I want to minimize my fold equity here in this particular spot. So you have the nuts here with the flush draw. The button's got 1500. I mean, if there's ever really a spot to three bet, my concern here with just calling. Now you do have a flush draw, which is good, which means there's less of a chance that a club comes. Whereas if you didn't have, like, you say you had queen jack of diamonds or something like that, you'd definitely be more incentivized, I think, to three bet not only action killing cards, but also the chance that someone might have a club draw. Now, there are backdoor hearts here too. The issue I always have with just calling here, if you're considering doing that, is that, wet cards at the end and then the propensity for people not to bet thinly. Like if you call, let's say the other guy gets out of the way, I mean, somebody might check back two pair here. So I don't want to kind of give the betting lead away. I mean, I would almost always probably put in a three bet here.
yeah, obviously another blunder I felt in hindsight. Yeah, a lot of action killing rivers. I do flat.
Mm,
Yeah, just a lot of. I think that was a huge mistake on my end. So I flat the 185, and then the big blind back jams for 250 effective.
Okay. So that does not open the betting up, I assume. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the actions close.
And again,
Um,
just to explain to people, probably 99% of rooms, the way that they look at this spot is that the only way for the action to be opened back up is if the big blind puts in a complete raise, meaning that so the hero bet 50, the button made at 185. So that's a raise of 135. So in order for the action to open up, the big blind would have to jam for 320 total or more, which would represent 135 on top. So because it's only 250, now if the button calls, you can only call. You do not have the option to open it back up.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So hands are tied in this point.
So
The button
button calls and you
calls
call, right?
and I call. Yes.
So now we are looking at, I would say, a pot of what, 250? You all put in 750. So what, 870?
Yeah, I've got 870 written here. Yep.
Okay. Yep.
Yep. So the river now comes to 10 of spades, pairing the board.
10 of spades pairing the board. Okay.
Yeah. A third or fourth mistake in the hand. Having a hard time, Bart, putting the button on a hand here, just given the pre-flop action and what she'd be raising with on this turn.
Well, I can
checked.
say with almost 100% certainty that it's set on the flop is not checking through. So I would say that, I mean, it's possible. And then usually King 10 isn't checking through either to raise turn. So, I mean, I guess it's possible like 9-10 or 7-10 or something like that. But you've got yourself into this situation now where you're going to have hands that might be smaller straights or something like that, check back, or I'm trying to think, I mean, what else here? I just don't think that she's going to have boats all that much, or it would be one combo of quads. This is why I like a 3-bet really, I mean, on the turn. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to put myself in this spot, but it's just an absolute disaster if this goes check check. Like if you call and lead, I know that's a little bit strange, but I do not like this spot. If your plan was to check here.
Yeah, I was obviously going to plan on leading any card that would keep me with the nuts. I was just kind of at a complete loss of what to do here, so I did check.
Mm.
Yeah, checked over at the button, and she bets 200 into a dry side pot. And I just snap call.
Wait a minute. So she bets 200 here. Now you do have one person all in here as well, which, I mean, the guy just called and then he back jammed. I mean, I don't really think that he has a full house here either, because I think he would just jam 2-pair or a set. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to be a
on
slow.
The turn
On the turn. So now the button bets 200. Man, I almost kind of want to make this 500. I just don't see how you're not good here. I mean, I guess it could be 9-10. I guess it could be 7-10. It's just interesting how people play so kind of nitty in this spot in position when the board pairs. I mean, quad 10s, 9-10, 7-10, and then, of course, she has to call your check raise. But if you make it really small, like I said, I wouldn't have played the hand in this manner because I think the turn is really a 3-bet here. But I kind of still want to bump it up to like 450 here. What did you do? You said you snap called?
Yeah, I mean, I probably thought about it for like 5-7 seconds and just called thinking, I mean, given the price especially, I couldn't really get away, and I wasn't really in a position where I wanted to raise, given just like I couldn't really put her on any sort of hand,
and
that would take that line. Yeah, so I call. She shows Jack of Diamonds, 8 of Diamonds for a lower straight.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Jack of Diamonds, 8 of Diamonds, which of course you would have got all the money on the turn.
Yes.
I really think you would have got all the money on the turn. Now, if you're up against a really, really good player in a spot like this with Jack 8 with no sort of room for improvement on a double flush draw board, I could actually see, like, if I was the button and I raised turn and you 3-bet me and you were competent, I actually could see possibly raise folding on the turn. But I would really have to know the opponent and be competent. This kind of reminds me with all the Phil Hellmuth news, like when Doug Polk 3-bet Actually check raise full. What was it, three bet or folded? I think he
Yeah,
bet
he
bet
check raised,
folded.
folded
Yeah,
that
against
that 9-8.
10-7 against Helmuth with the higher straight. But boy, at this level, it's kind of tough to do that. But I don't think she's raise folding the turn. But again, it's just one of these things where it sort of demonstrates action killing cards, sort of chickening out. And I'm even surprised that she bet at the end. I mean, I think a lot of people check behind there. Not that they should check behind, but a lot of people do. And this is why I think I would, again, the theory says that you probably can do some calling when you have the flush draw, but on a double flush draw board with all the cards that are going to kill the action, it is a disaster in live poker when you could have gotten it in with somebody and don't because of cards that might come. So,
Yeah. I do have one last question for you, Bart. If I was to three bet this turn, say to 550, 600, and she calls, given that board pairing 10 on the river, do you have any insight in what you might do in that spot?
I mean, you would have what, like 800 left, something like that?
Yeah.
If you have room to sort of block, that's what I might do. I'd have to sort of visualize if there was any possible room to block fold. I just think that this is an exploitable spot, especially when deeper, where no one's ever going to raise you at the end without a full house. And because there's multiple combos of lower straights out there too, and that I don't really see a credible full house unless it's like specifically 10-9, which is probably only one combo, or 7-10 suited. People are saying, what about King 10? I still think that a lot of King 10s bet off on the flop, and I don't think that there are many sets. It still wouldn't scare me all that much, to be honest with you.
Okay. Yep.
So anyways, I appreciate the call. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Bart.